Hey, buddy.
Hey, Kelly.
How you doing?
Liking your head bobbing to the imaginary music.
There's always music in my head.
I'm-
Always.
I feel that. I feel that very much. Save that thought for later. Save that thought.
Okay. Put a pin in that.
Yeah. I have in my notes,
Uh-huh.
because I have notes, that last week is what happens when there are no notes. Just meandering,
Yeah.
a lot of silence while we think about stuff.
Yeah. I don't normally, these days, re-listen to these things.
Mm-hmm.
But that one I definitely will never re-listen to.
Yeah. Okay. Same.
But it's, I never come in with notes, so I always kind of lean on you to guide us. So that's my fault. I'll do a better job in the future.
One of the, this, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but as soon as we finished and I walked out, I was like, didn't talk about this, didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about the weather,
No.
which we really should have talked about even the time before that.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I definitely wanted to circle back to, because there's like an object lesson, public service announcement aspect to it.
Yeah.
Do you remember when I told you about the IRS and the real life spooky event?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we checked the mail because Ash was like, letters from the IRS.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Check the mail, and the IRS was like, you owe us money. We're
Right.
like, oh my god. And then left off with Ash saying, we already paid that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a big deal. She, between when that happened and now, called the IRS and was on hold and redirected and whatever, 40 plus minutes. But eventually, when she did get to talk to somebody, the issue was that we obviously file our taxes married filing jointly.
Yeah.
It's got both of our socials on there, but mine's on top. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When she did the payment to the IRS, because we were in the wrong. We did mess up the year before that.
Yeah.
But we caught it, and listener, you get two choices when that happens. You either do nothing, and maybe the IRS never finds out or catches it.
Mm-hmm.
But if they do, then you have to pay what you owed originally
Yeah.
and interest.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, imagine a funny scenario where it was you were off by $50, but you didn't do anything about it for 50 years, and now you owe $50 grand.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be that crazy, I'm sure, but we were like, okay, we'll just pay it. But when she paid the IRS, she already has a account or profile or whatever to pay the IRS because she has her own business.
Mm-hmm.
So she did it through that. That's all connected to her social and only her social.
Mm.
So it wasn't, in IRS in the sky. Weren't connecting those two things. So she talks to a person after, again, waiting for as long as she did. They sort it out, and the person said, Ashley tells me, the person said something like, whatever the interest is
Mhm.
for when it was owed and when we paid it would be cents. So you won't hear about this again. And I was like, so there's still something we technically owed. I think we actually paid more than what we did pay so that we wouldn't. That's what it was. The difference was cents.
Mm-hmm.
Not even $1. And she was like, you won't hear about this again. So it was resolved. But the object lesson, or the takeaway from it, I've had similar situations where, hey, you did something wrong, and it was a legit thing wrong. I'm thinking of a speeding ticket and my registration being out of date.
Yeah.
Because actually, technically, I'm still bad at it. I'd gotten better, but this year I just got the inspection done last week, and the sticker is from August.
Mm.
But did something wrong, and then either I got sent to some training or whatever, and didn't pay a ticket, or I think once I didn't go to court, which compounds and gets worse.
Yeah.
The fees add up, and something that should have been maybe $140, or I have 80 in my head, but I have 80 in my head because they were like, you owe us $800 and you're gonna pay it or a warrant's gonna go out. But I go to the Justice of the Peace and again wait in line, and it wasn't 3 hours. It was more than 1 hour, but it wasn't 2 hours.
Yeah.
But you gotta wait in line. And I finally got in front of the JP and was like, or not even just the piece, but his younger, cooler assistant. And I was like, hey, this is the deal. I was definitely wrong. But I use the term mitigating circumstances. They're mitigating circumstances. He's like, oh yeah, what are the... This lawyer speak, you think you know what you're talking about? And I was like, yeah, I went away to Kentucky and they literally took our phones away. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, that's basic training. And he's like, oh, alright, that's fine. Because it was like 11 weeks long, so it was like that entire time. And I still should have paid it like by mail or whatever.
Yeah.
But this was 2006.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like as easy as it is now. Like, I couldn't get to the website on my phone. That wasn't a thing yet.
Right.
Yeah. And I ended up just paying like whatever the original was, whatever the cost of the ticket was, and so it was like $80 or $140, whichever of those numbers is correct. Similar but different. We talked about it a few weeks ago. Had a hospital bill like while I was uninsured, and the bill was something like $6,000.
Yeah.
And that was it's still real money. Like, that would suck to pay $6,000 if I had to do that like for the roof or a deductible on home insurance or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be the end of the world. Like, it would have been the end of the world back then, and not even that long ago. Like 2012, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Or 2011. That time frame.
Yeah.
But Ash was like, you gotta call him. And again, waited however long.
Yeah.
But eventually talked to somebody, and they were like, well, what can you pay? I was like, $600. And they're like, great. And then ended up paying that like over installments, like 2 or 3 installments. The thing that people need to know is bureaucracies, like whether it's public, private, talking about like insurance and the criminal justice system in these two examples.
Yeah.
But then like the IRS and Ashley's example, the people who suffer are the people who don't have the time. Like, and time is a real resource when you have kids.
Right.
Or a job that like just keeps you down. And that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
If you do have the time, you gotta use it. And it's not insignificant to do so. And I just feel, especially, that was actually when I kind of changed my mind on universal health care. That was the same time that Elizabeth Warren was putting out the message that the majority of bankruptcies in the U.S. are like medical emergencies, like maybe the majority of family bankruptcies, something like that. And just how much that sucks for just the people who don't have the time.
Yeah.
That was my follow-up on the real-life spooky event from a couple weeks ago of interacting with the IRS. Bottom line, everything's fine. But also, bureaucracies hurt the people that are, I think most people, that just don't have time or would rather spend that time on kids and TV and stuff.
Yeah. What a world. It's a fun place to live.
It's operating a nation at scale. Or anything at scale.
You know it.
That inspire anything in you, Cal?
Not really.
Alright, well, my next thought is chips are bullshit.
Chips?
Chips are bullshit. Feeding myself right now is a full-time job. We'll get back to that. But I currently have, it must have been chips and salsa, but I did also recently eat potato chips. I just don't eat chips generally because there's like no protein with it.
Right.
And I can only do so much salty.
Yeah.
And I would prefer like the salt be an element that there's like a sweet that comes with it or something like that. I don't understand people like Ash that are just like chips, 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 salt, 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 chip, chip, chip. Like, it's to me the salt compounds. Like, I can only eat like 6 of those just random salty potato chips. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before it's like, this is just too much salt. And yeah, but that's different than what I scratched off a part of my gums in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just insane that is the food. It's just like it breaks apart like glass in your mouth. It's biodegradable, but you're just accepting that, like, yeah, I'm just gonna take a chunk of gums out every once in a while eating chips. Chips are bullshit.
See, that's your take on it. What I'm hearing is...
Let's go.
Your lack of eating chips has made your mouth a weak bitch-ass mouth that can't handle things.
That's fair.
It's not calloused.
It's definitely not calloused. The candy,
Yeah.
still eating it.
Oh, God.
But it's just like the salt in that, like, one candy. Okay. 3 candies. That's enough. 6th candy is burning through my tongue. It's literally causing... It's like halfway to a blister.
Yeah.
And, like, top of this gum, too. It's just too much sugar.
I think you just might have something medically wrong with your mouth.
Mm.
Because I don't hear these complaints from many people.
I definitely don't eat this much sugar all the time either.
So, yeah. You can't complain if you don't work out the muscles.
Mm. Yeah.
But
okay.
I understand. I mean, you have your beef with chips. I have mine with a certain part of the human anatomy being able to feel spice when it's absolutely redundant and unnecessary to be able to feel it from there.
So sensitive.
I'm sorry you hate chips. Although I also have never, like, I like chips as a side.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I'm having a sandwich or something, like, my lunch, like, 99% of the time is, like, some kind of, like, turkey sandwich or a ham sandwich with a side of chips. And I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never been one of those that's just, like, just eats chips after chips. Like, that's all I'm eating. And it was funny because when you first brought up that just eating a bunch of chips, flashback to the way back whenever lived with Corey,
mm-hmm.
and like he legit would come home from work or something with just like a full size bag, maybe not a party size, but like a full size bag of Cool Ranch Doritos, and that was his dinner. He would eat the entire thing, and that was his dinner.
Nice.
And it's just like, wow. I mean,
dude, we used to be animals.
yeah.
I have a distinct memory. I used to work at that YMCA at Shadow Bend.
Yeah.
Across the street from that is Randall's. And one time I was just leaving work and I was like, gonna get my dinner for the night. And I got 2 frozen pizzas.
Yeah.
I think maybe like a pepperoni sausage. And then a gallon of, I think, cookies and cream.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just check it out. And there was some kid with his mom, like holding his mom's hand, and looks up at me and just like looking at my stuff. And I'm like, I think I gave him a thumbs up or I acknowledged him somehow, but in my head it was like, I'm the best. This is every kid's dream.
Yeah.
I look like a psychopath in the best way.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't eat as good as I should, but I definitely don't eat as bad as I used to. And that flashed me back to like when I don't think were you there for when we had the ice cream eating contest?
I don't remember an ice cream eating contest now.
It was right around when you got married, within a year or so, because we were living in the house that at the time when y'all got married.
Was it the house where we had the bachelor party?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it was me, Corey, Jer, Tim was there, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And then maybe another 1 or 2 people. And we went to the store and each of us got like one of those full-size half-gallons of Blue Bell.
Uh-huh.
And it was just like, who can eat the entire thing the fastest?
Mm.
And I won. I think in just under 11 minutes.
Annihilated.
And I mean, I went for just homemade vanilla because I was in it to win it. Like,
yeah.
It was a competition, so
Nice.
I was like, I'm not gonna put it like. I think Tim got like Rocky Road or something with a bunch of stuff, and he just got destroyed. Didn't even get close to finishing it.
Cool.
I think Corey might have been the only other person to finish,
Mm-hmm.
and he wasn't far behind. He was like in a minute or 2 behind me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like thinking about that now. Like, yeah, it would be fun because this also I'm bringing this up because I'm supposed to be going to Disney in January,
Mm-hmm.
and we're staying at the beach club, I think.
Really good.
Whatever it's called, I don't know. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's the Beach Club. And yeah, I know it is. And there's a place there called Beaches and Cream, a restaurant.
Disney Beach Club Resort.
And they have this thing where they have, like, it's called, I think, the kitchen sink. And it's literally, like, they made, like, a smaller but still big size, like, kitchen sink to serve just a ton of ice cream in. And, like, whenever someone orders it, like, they flash the lights and all the servers, like, sing a song. And it's this big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been there before, and I've seen it, like every 3 minutes, like, shit would shut down and everybody started screaming because someone was ordering that thing. And I was like, I could eat that entire thing. I know I could.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm now to the point in my life where, like, I still know I could, but I know I absolutely should not, and I won't, because that's just, no, I can't put my body through that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even when I go to, like, buffets these days, I really, like, don't even come close to, like, what I would do in the past.
It takes the fun out of buffets for me because it is about, like, just eating yourself to death.
I mean, I always used to see it as a competition, like, going in there and trying to get the most out of my money, but now it's just, like, I'm still eating more than I should, but it's not like that pushing myself to eat more.
I, in my head, have a vision of, like, your pancreas being a fuse that can just pop. I'm just trying not to... I feel like I've identified times, like, one of Jeremy's birthdays where it was, like, an all-you-can-eat, or maybe it was just, like, a very heavy brunch, but we came back to the house at Sirocco and threw up and just had a headache all day. I was like,
I think I know which one you're talking about. I think that was a time when, like, we went to multiple places in a single day to eat. Mm-hmm. And I think that might have been the time we also went to that fancy milkshake place.
I think that was a different time that I think Ash
okay. I remember after that milkshake place, I felt horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that whole day, I just ate way too much.
So maybe the thing doesn't catch on fire, but it's definitely... A spleen is not a machine. I don't know how spleens work, but I just picture it just, like, getting real slow as it tries to turn the wheel. It's like, what are you putting in me? But it's still secreting whatever that does the stuff.
Yeah. And
then once enough of that clears through you, then the wheel spins faster like it should.
Yeah.
Science!
Mm-hmm.
That's for Justin. The Beach Club. I think the ferry that took us to Kristen's wedding there went by this, because this looks very familiar.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I absolutely believe it, because that is right on the water. And it's right, like, literally, maybe when you exit the place on the back exit, it's like maybe 50-yard walk and you're inside Epcot. Like, it's literally, like, right on the, like, outside of the backside of Epcot.
Lovely.
So that's pretty exciting. It's hilarious, though, like, my brother, bless his heart, this whole trip has been such a whirlwind. It started out as a Disney cruise, then switched to going just to Disney World and staying at the Wilderness Lodge again, because that's, like, our go-to place.
Nice. Yep.
And then it went to, we're going to Disneyland in California instead. And then it went back to the Wilderness Lodge at Disney World. And then Beach Club. And then Wilderness Lodge again. And then now we're back at Beach Club. And now I think it's too close to the date for anything else.
I was going to ask, is there so many days or weeks out that it just gets locked in?
I'm pretty sure it's locked in now.
Okay.
And I know this because he's now already planned our next Disney vacation, which is going to be, like, literally, like, a year from today.
Okay.
Next November. And that's supposed to be a Disney cruise.
Okay.
So, 2 Disney trips in 1 year for me. And I don't have to pay for, like, anything.
It's too early to know now, obviously. But that is kind of hurricane season.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anything's really popping off right now.
Right. I think it has happened in the past.
For sure.
Because it happened, like, in December, like, especially recently with these unprecedented times.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, we'll see. It's actually... Well, no. Take it back. I was about to start spouting off some stats about that, but that was for when it was supposed to be in January and not November. So
Ash and I cruised in January twice. Have you done a cruise before?
never.
I'm a fan. There's people who love cruises, people who hate cruises.
Yeah.
I'm definitely closer to loving it, and Ash, I think she's more apathetic, but I think she would say that she's closer to hating it. She's certainly closer to it than I am.
Yeah. I mean, I've always, like, in my head, I've just been like, why would I ever want to go on a cruise when I could basically spend the same amount of money and just fly to a destination and stay there and then come back? But over the years, I've really, and this really doesn't have much to do with this conversation much, but over the last 10 years or so, I've really made a big effort in myself in terms of personal growth to just, like, be more open-minded. Because there was a time when, like, I could kind of get comic book store guy from The Simpsons about certain things. Like, and I didn't like that.
You should elaborate, because I know what you mean, but the listeners might not.
So, I mean, in The Simpsons, there's this side character called Comic Book Guy. He's a big, fat, like, nerd guy who just is always correcting people and, like, telling them what's good and what's bad, and just very opinionated, and very unlikable as a character. And I was never, like, that bad, but there was definitely times when it happened, and I'm just like, now I'm just like care less and open to experience more, like trying new things. So, I mean, even 5 years ago, if you would have been like, you want to go on a cruise, I'd be like, hell no, I don't want to go on a cruise at all. And then I'm still a little on edge in case, like, another pandemic happens while I'm on a cruise. That would be pretty bad. Or I've heard of a lot of cases where, like, flu will, like, spread throughout a cruise pretty quick, and, like, everybody gets kind of sick.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of the season for it, too.
But, I mean, this cruise, it's like a 3-night, so it's not, like, super long. But I'm also just really excited to use my passport for something.
I feel that, yeah.
Because I have a passport now. I've had it for a little while, and I just still don't have anything planned for it. And I really want to get out there and see other countries.
And take a step back for a second, rewind 30 seconds or so. Not literally. When you said you're open to new stuff in the last 5 years, I think your palate changed. Or you're eating more vegetables. Because I think that there have been things that come up where it used to be you and Jared just, like, no vegetables, no fruit-flavored things.
Yeah. I'm still pretty anti-fruit. But I'm a lot more open to a lot of vegetables. And it's just like... And some of that comes from just trying it. Like, if I go to a restaurant, like, instead of special ordering something, I'm just like, you're selling it like that for a reason. Let me try to figure out why that is.
Yeah.
So I eat it, and then there's a lot of things that I've discovered that are a lot better than I ever would have guessed.
Do you think the cooking shows and stuff helped with that?
I mean, definitely didn't hurt. I mean, there's still, like, part of the fun of watching cooking shows, especially like me and Jerry, is just like, just calling out, I never eat that shit. That looks disgusting.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I've been there for that.
But I don't know, just, there's a lot of food out there. And I, for one, I mean, most food, I don't think there's really any food out there, like, triggers me in a way that, like, I want to, like, vomit. Whereas in, like, I know people who, like, literally, you eat, like, a salad and they will literally throw up. They try to eat it and then it does not stay down. Like, they throw up. Like, it's not even, at that point, it's, like, biological or something. It's not just...
You know what I think that is? Who's got the bitch ass now? Wait, the bitch mouth now. Damn it.
I think that's more of a stomach thing. I mean, if you can get it past the mouth and into the stomach and then it comes back out, the mouth did its job. Then it's the stomach.
I was just trying to take it twisted and reverse it.
But I can... Nothing really... Except some fruits. Like, I want to gag when I'm around some fruits. But I've gotten better at that, too. And I think also that's just, like, forcing myself to be around him. Like, cooked you peach cobbler a few years in a row.
Yeah.
And, like, that first year was definitely, I had a few, like, "Whoop" moments.
Jared brought it up recently, where you guys were doing, like, fresh...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's madness. I know I've loved it every time, and I think that first time I was especially complimentary.
Mm.
But I definitely, if I didn't make a big deal of it then, which is hard to imagine if I knew that I didn't, but that's a big deal that you did, like, fresh peaches.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
I never, ever would have guessed working with peaches was going to be that hard and time consuming, but it was.
Mm-hmm. And it's so much, like, compared to the orthodox alternative.
Yeah. Like, just opening a can
Yeah.
and pouring it in. Which is now what we do when we make you peach cobbler. Because it seems like it's not that much different.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just forcing myself to work with ingredients. Like, I'm not going to eat it, but I'm not going to gag if it touches me.
Sure.
And, like, I remember, too, like, back when I first started bartending, way back in the day, we had this, like, passion fruit kind of guava mix. Mm-hmm. And, like, literally every time I made a drink with it, like, I had to hold myself back from, like, gagging. Because it just was the grossest thing in the world to me. But I got to where I could handle it. So, I don't know. Just trying to grow, be a better person, be a better me.
How much of that... So this is in me inspiring something that came up. I saw family yesterday, and the first person I saw was my dad's mom, Mama, and we just sit and talk. She's got 2 dogs and a cat, and we did some chores type stuff, but 2.5 hours, like 2 hours, we just talked. And relationship stuff comes up, and when I was talking about, Mama said something that provoked me to say that it's impressed me, and obviously I'm really grateful for Ash and I over the years that we've known each other, and obviously been in incredibly close quarters. Mm-hmm. We've grown closer. And that when you said being open to new things, there's definitely... I wonder if you being open to new things, if that's just a natural process of aging, or if it is being around things and wanting to cooperate or interface with it in a way that doesn't cause gagging. But there's definitely things where I can see my younger self, and I don't know if that's just because all of our younger selves are just terrible.
Yeah.
Or if it's maturity or whatever, but there were things like Ash wanting to work out and like be in the gym that for me, like, she does it because she enjoys it. Right. And like it's like in the way that any of us like obsess or get into anything. Right. Like it's something she's into. And for me, like, the gym was something you had to do and was not into it. And now that's something that, like, she's definitely won me over to that. She reads all the time, which you know. Right. And definitely I'm more of a podcast type person. But we've gotten close in that way. And then Mama, I think I was giving out some of these examples, and then I was like, and then the other way around, she just blurted out, football! And I'm like, yes. And then she told me a story about how my dad's mom is very much a Cowboys fan and very much into football. Yeah. And told me a story about how she got into that. But being open to things and how that's... I don't know if we could peer into it, if that's just some... It seems like the literal opposite of what happened, or what, like, I was told would happen as you get older, is you'd be less open to things, you know?
Well, so here's a funny thing on that. I do think that that's probably the majority of what happens to most people. I think you have to make an effort to keep going and keep pushing yourself and keep trying, because it is so easy to just get in a rut. And it was like literally not even an hour ago, I was over at my brother's place. Mm-hmm. And I see it in him all the time. Like, he's shutting down. He's experiencing less and less. He watches zero TV, doesn't really listen to any new music, doesn't try any new foods, Doesn't do anything new, really.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, he was even telling me today that, like, he's worried he's going to end up turning into our dad, who's someone who never really did anything. And then, like, literally for the past 25 years, like, my dad just has no idea what happened. Like, he just wasn't there. Like, culturally, anything. Like, unless it's Michigan football, like, he has no idea what's happened in the last 25 years. He could tell you what happened in the third game during the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left to go in a Michigan game 24 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He could tell you that from 50 years ago, from 60. He remembers stats from when he was 8 years old.
Mm-hmm. Like
Michigan stats. Wild. But he always refers to himself as a... Who's that? There's an old, like, folktale...
Rumpelstiltskin?
I think so.
No.
No, it's not that, but it is like a dude.
Rip
Van Winkle.
Van.
Yeah, he compares himself to him a lot, because he's just like... He was just not connected, and now he's, like... Within the past 5, 7, 8 years, he's gotten back into it a little, only because my brother got him addicted to watching, like, political news.
Okay.
All day, every day.
That sounds good.
So, he, like, literally, it's like his stories for him. He gets mad when there's, like, big breaking events and they won't cover the stuff he wants them to cover. They just cover whatever's actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's been real mad during this whole Gaza situation thing going on, because it's taken away from all of his other gossip that he likes to listen about.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, that was a pretty sharp left turn. But back on track, just talking about how, like, my brother, he acknowledges that he's like getting into that rut. He's like getting quote unquote older.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you have to do something. You're the only person that can do something about that.
Mm.
And I always, or I think about my dad a lot, and I'm just like, I will never be that disconnected with reality, like, ever. I mean, one, I know technology, so I get the information better than he does. He still barely can work his phone.
Mm-hmm.
But he can do it a lot better than he ever used to be able to. But also, I mean, why not? Like, there's just so much to experience, so much to know. Like, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that disappoints me out there. But then when I find, like, that really cool thing, it's like, hell yeah.
I think it probably feels like there's a plateau at some point where you're like, yeah, this is new in this, like, space and time, but it's the exact same thing as, like, 30 years ago. And, like, I've seen this before, it's boring, it's stupid. Because I know that I felt like that way about certain things. But then I think I still don't stop being, like, curious. And, like, wanting to know what's going on out there.
Well, I think, at least for me right now, I'm trying to get curious about the things I was actively not curious about in the past.
Yeah, I get that.
So, I'm just trying to figure it out. I mean, now, given, I still have some soapboxes I'm going to stand, or pillars I'm going to stand on about certain things, hills I'll die on, that I will never get into. But, for the most part, I don't know,
Yeah, I feel like we've explored a lot of issues to, like, the high 90th percentile of, like, I don't know literally 100% of everything you could know about World War One.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's higher than 91% of things.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm in there. Like, whatever you're going to throw at me is something that I either knew or is part of something that I knew.
Right.
And probably that same feeling with a lot of, like, objects in politics and the value of the balance of, like, mass democracy versus representation versus... I fucking get it. Like, a lot of it is... if I haven't heard it before, I've heard something very similar. So, not wanting to move there, but then at the same time, it's like in the politics example, not to get, like, too dark with it, but most people just want to be left alone, which means that the people that are, like, actually moving the needle are not those people. Are people that one way or another, like, want something that is beneficial to them and that interest sometimes / oftentimes at the detriment of, regardless if it's everybody, to the detriment of people in a society where we're saying like all people are equal, and it means you gotta stay interacting and on top of things.
I mean, that's one thing that angers me so much. Like, if people did take just a little bit of time to pay attention to things, then they'd see, maybe not see totally what's going on, but over the years, like, you get to understand, like, how things can happen and, like, what the consequences are going to be from those. I mean, very similarly to like, political stuff. I mean, again, I'm not going to try to get real political, but this is going to be a little political, so I apologize. But back in, like, what was it, like 2015, whenever it was Hillary and Trump, and they were doing their thing, working their way up, getting ready for the election and stuff. Like, at that time, it was a complete, absolute joke. Like, I thought it was just a joke, and it was just going to fizzle out because people would realize this. Like, don't get me wrong, I dislike Hillary. I'm not a Hillary fan. But a dude who's on Shark Tank is trying to be our president, like, that's just, that nothing good can come from that.
You mean The Apprentice?
Or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't, same shit. But I remember even back then having like conversations, because this was still back when I was working in restaurants, so like I was around a ton of people all the time and just talk about all kinds of shit, kill the time. And I bring it up, and they're just like, I think he might actually work. It might be a good thing for this country. And I'm like, what makes you think that? Like, give me a reason. Tell me what about him is going to make this better. Mm-hmm. And then they'd be like, well, I just hate Hillary so much. And I'm like, well, I do too, but that is not a reason to let this guy be president. It's not. Like, at least Hillary's been in politics. Like, she knows what's going on. She's not going to do anything that stupid. We might not agree with what she does, but it's not going to, like, really fuck up our country. And I'm like, that's never going to... Like, they just don't understand that, like, certain things are going to happen. Like, it was just the clear as day for me. And I was like, well, all right, we'll see. And then we saw, sure as shit, just about how bad that turned out.
Have you heard of a book called The Death of Expertise?
No.
Imagine if it were true that most people just don't like experts.
Oh, I could totally believe that.
So even if... I think the stuff about Hillary Clinton and the Clintons is overblown generally. But even if you don't like them, just saying that, just the act of having competency in a resume, and I would call her an expert in foreign policy and politics and all that, just by virtue of that. Imagine if that turned off like 60% of people.
Which is wild, because like these people that feel like that, if their truck breaks down, they want to go to a knowledgeable mechanic who's been doing it for years. They don't want some guy who just thinks they can do it to give it a shot.
That's, it is what it is. But at the same time, when you're having that conversation, I used to participate in an interfaith kind of philosophy group where it was people from different faiths, and I was like the non-theist of the group. And similarly, same time. And one of the people that participated is actually works in political polling, like does call centers. That whenever whoever commissions a poll of, hey, we need this demographic, want to ask them these questions, he's the one that actually executes that. Like, not come up with the strategy, but hire the college kids to call this list of numbers or find whatever. And similarly with certain, like, there's just no way that Trump could win. And I guess I knew that it was possible. I was just advocating that it was very much possible because it is a democracy. It doesn't matter what makes sense. It doesn't matter math. Nothing matters but what a person has in their head and getting enough of those people to hit this button or that button, to select that name or that name. And however you can do that, that's who wins. And it doesn't matter if more people in the right states think that Trump should be president than Hillary, that's what's going to happen. And that is what happened. I don't think that him being a reality TV star, there have been actors, like Zelensky is like famously an actor with no previous experience before that. Reagan is a famous example of governor of California, where Schwarzenegger also became governor. And California is an economy much larger than most nations in the world. Just being a reality TV star doesn't matter. And how many people love wrestling, Kelly? None of that shit is real. You just have to put the right image in enough people's heads to pick one person over another.
Well, really quick, I think Zelensky's been the only really successful transition from entertainment into leading a country, or who is actually doing good by that country.
Depends on how many people you think like Reagan, because it's a lot.
I mean, that doesn't mean they're right.
Okay, but again, it matters what they think.
Which ties this whole conversation back to people need to keep learning new things, keep it pushing themselves to like boundaries and learn more and be more empathetic and hear everything, so you can then actually not almost completely destroy our fucking country. Like,
I'll back that up with, prior to him running in 2015, all I knew about him, two things. You can probably guess.
Apprentice and Home Alone 2.
Fucking exactly, yes. And did I watch The Apprentice? No. Did I know the premise that the CEO / president / leader of a big real estate thing in New York picks winners and losers? Yeah. And I knew that was on for 7 or 11 years, something insane. But like you're saying, every little bit of new information that I got about the guy, the Judge Curiel thing, I remember being the straw on the camel's back of, that's just straight up racism. That's just him being blatantly, openly racist.
Yeah.
Which used to be disqualifying. And then I imagine, I could be totally wrong about this, that most people our age, or maybe just most people, had the similar understanding of the guy is part of real estate in New York and picks winners and losers on that show. But any little, like, everybody in New York that understood, like, he's shitty to his contractors, he's done some, if you don't want to call it explicitly openly racist stuff, definitely leaning in that direction when it comes to the Brooklyn Five, or the, whatever, people in New York know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what
the Something Five. Sorry. And just how terrible, or how he ran what he ran.
The fact he never ran a successful business.
He's IRS settled out of court for money laundering stuff with, surprise, Russian money. All the stuff that people in New York and people that, like, just a little bit older than us who have been hearing about Trump in the newspapers since the 80s for, like, failed casinos and, like, dirty casino stuff, dirty money, dirty real estate, Russian mob, that kind of stuff. That somebody our age, or certainly younger, and maybe just people that aren't in New York and don't care about, you know, that stuff, have not heard. It is just a matter of, like, what's in people's heads. So, like, all this circling back to your point of, you have to stay interested. Mm-hmm. It definitely seemed like the more information I learned, it was like, oh, people should know these things about him too.
Yeah. It's, what a world we live in.
I have so much more to talk about. It's 44 minutes.
Yeah.
Writing, I guess that can be the last thing. We've both been doing it.
This is true.
which is something that Ashley kind of got us into.
Yep.
Did you submit a short story for a...
I sure did.
Nice.
I submitted it yesterday. My 500 word or less story that came in at 498 words.
Nice.
Because I had to work to get it under 500 words. It's just 500 words is so little to try to tell like a whole story.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun. It was a fun little exercise, a scary story, and I've never tried to create anything like scary.
Mm-hmm.
So that was real out of the box for me, trying new things.
It read very much like a scene.
I mean, that's what I like when I read stuff. Like, I like to see what's going on. I like to get the vibe of it. Like, I like to know my characters. Still real big on the classic, like, the W's, the who's, the what's, the when's, the where's, the why's.
Okay.
I like knowing that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And also, I got a little maybe thrown off just how I did it too, because in the rules of the contest, it was like they kind of harped on it. Like, they said it more than once in a different way, like back to back. Like, has to be a full, complete story.
Yeah.
Which to me, I was like, okay, that's... In my mind, I was like, how do you do a whole story that short? And then, like, read some other things, and, like, I read a few short stories just to, like, see what short stories are like, because I never really read one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how do you do that? And a lot of them are, like, very few details. It kind of just throws you into a situation.
Yeah.
You learn it as it's happening, and then it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I just went my own way.
Ash and I read a lot of short stories, and not a lot of horror short stories too. But I think the most famous short story thing that we did growing up was Ray Bradbury and the Martian Chronicles.
Mm-hmm.
And each of those kind of fit into the total anthology of the stuff going on in Mars. The thing I took away from the rules is, like, it can't be like that. You can't. It's got to be just a one-off. You can't put it on social media. It's just for us. And don't make it a part of anything else.
Mm. I don't know. It's fun regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how we do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you wrote one, apparently. I'm worried about you, bud.
Mm-hmm.
It's feels like that was a little too easy for you to come up with.
The first two paragraphs I just spat out immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I have taken classes in, like, essay writing and narrative nonfiction, and then from all the stuff that we listened to, I did just, like, sit down and spit out two things that I could spit out real quick,
Mm-hmm.
and then came back and edited, which is why that first paragraph was in the double parentheses.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, you can just kill the very first thing that you write, and it makes the whole thing tighter and just better. Because that second one is, you're almost always, like, introducing,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second one is, like, where the action begins, and then you, like, professors and editors will be like, just fucking get right to it.
Yeah, but it's funny. I was talking to Ash after I read yours,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "All right, y'all definitely beat me on writing scary stories, but let's have a happy story writing contest and see who can do better."
Nice.
I'm sure I can beat Ash.
Funny.
And after reading what you wrote, I think I might be able to beat you too. But
Let's go.
I don't know.
Short story though.
I mean, I think that'd be the easiest for
Something we could do in 5 days.
a contest. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't want to commit like a whole project to just trying to beat you at writing a happy story.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, writing's pretty cool. Although I will say that short story thing did slow my main writing project down a bit.
Mm.
But I'm also kind of at a little bit of writer's block with that, because I just want my story to be so fucking happy. I can't think of a main conflict to put in the story because like there has to be a conflict in a story. It just
Yeah, and anytime you introduce or dabble with anything, it like changes the tone entirely.
yeah.
Because the first thing I thought of was like, oh, make it about like age. Now he doesn't want to get old. It's like nobody wants to get old because then you die.
I mean, I was thinking about just going full out and just killing off a character like right in the middle, and then everybody has to deal with it and overcome that and stuff. But I mean, it's not like that hasn't been done 5 quadrillion times.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. That's the thing where you're like, oh, okay, this is another flavor of I've heard this story before.
But also, I don't want there to be conflict. I just want it to be happy, 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 like all the way through.
Can you think of any movie that's been like that?
No, there's not, because that's not how you tell stories.
Nah. I'll think about it. Because they're like bad movies. There's movies that are like that where it's just...
I can think of a few movies that like, just the very opening is bad, and then the rest of it's like pretty good the whole rest of the way.
Oh. What about Napoleon Dynamite? Is there like an actual conflict in that?
I don't remember that movie at all. I think I saw it once, but that's not my style of comedy. Like I didn't enjoy that at all.
I'm thinking of like Wes Anderson type movies. Where it's just like telling a story that's like nothing happened.
But I mean that's the thing. I want to tell a story where a lot of things happen, but it's a lot of fun, good, happy things. I don't want people to have to like overcome something or push through something. I just want them to be like just happy.
Yeah.
The whole time. They just get happier, happier, and then like the last scene, they're 98 years old in their deathbed, surrounded by all their loved ones, and just calmly fall asleep with the smile on my face, and that's it. But that's just not story. That's not how you do stories. People don't want that.
Well, yeah, that's not how you tell like good, compelling stories.
Right.
Yeah.
But is there a way to tell a compelling story without there having to be something bad? I don't think there is, but I'm gonna try.
There's lots of stories that have like the glorious / triumphant end.
Yeah, to have that, you
lose people along the way.
Yeah, you're fighting something to get to that.
Yeah.
Like I wanna see a movie.
Okay. Does nature count?
What do you mean?
Like if you're not fighting people or organizations, but there's you have to overcome coming down from an avalanche or something.
Oh yeah, that definitely counts as a bad thing.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like I'm talking like the story where like
it can't even be literally like they're on a boat having a good time and then there's a storm and it like
no, that's a bad thing.
A literal storm.
The perfect storm. No, like I want something that's like guy goes to gas stations, buys a lottery ticket, wins the lottery, and then lives happily ever after. But we get to follow the happily ever after. Like it's not just
what has to end at some point.
Deathbed 98, family around you, smile, go to sleep.
Why doesn't it end with like a wedding or something and like two great empires come together and who knows how great things are going to be after this?
I mean, that could happen. That's totally fine too, as long as nothing bad happened getting there.
Okay, we can work with that. You just need a super duper happy thing over here and a super duper happy thing over here, and then they meet in the middle. And then that's the end of it. You just have to choose.
But there can't be any clashing of them to get to that meeting in the middle.
No, it's all about them finding each other.
It's like a zipper.
It's all about them finding each other.
Even in rom-coms, though, there's always like
doesn't have to be breakup because you already got your happy person there in the happy thing.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I got you even more. You ready? All right. So these two people, different lives, different entire everything. Do you already have like your whole happy thing?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, it's gonna be two happy things. In between them are people, places, and events that link them, and maybe they're like always missing one another, but they're slowly getting closer and closer together. Sort of a Sleepless in Seattle.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Get out of my head.
All right.
But even
you gotta have one of those a week.
But even in Sleepless in Seattle, there was a conflict.
Yeah, just go do that part.
I mean, I don't want to do that part. I don't think anybody will enjoy that story.
I'm kind of curious how you have. Is there any adventure?
Adventure's fine. I mean, no one can get hurt or like it can't be like pirates fucking you up or.
What does that look like? What does an adventure with like no conflict or no danger look like?
I mean, there could be like implied danger, but it just never comes to fruition. Like spending a week out hiking around Yosemite and camping. That's an adventure. You're seeing crazy, beautiful things, doing rugged things. There are animals out there that could come mess with you if they wanted to, but it doesn't have to happen.
You just got to have two people doing a series of adventures, and one's always picking up where the last left off, or their adventure at a different, like they're connected somehow, like Yosemite on the West Coast, and then on the East Coast somebody does the Appalachian Trail, and when this Appalachian Trail starts, they're like, and I just had a great time at Yosemite, so maybe they were there at the same time. But just a series of adventures, and then they meet up in the middle, and maybe the end of it is, I've got a story to tell you, and they're, we find out it's been the same story.
I mean, I'd love that. I think majority of the world would not love that story.
Well, I'm just trying to, you're like, how's it going to end, right?
Well, I mean, there's tons of ways it could end. It's just, it's not going to end badly. Whatever happens, it's happy.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were trying to solve for, is how do you end this thing?
Oh, no. It's how to make a compelling story without having any negativity. And you really can't, because then it'd be really hard to write characters that people could, like, relate to that are getting everything they want.
I think if there is such a thing as a character with nothing but happy adventures, which I think you think there are.
Like, what do you...
If there is such a thing as a character or a story that has nothing but happy adventures.
Like, that it's already exists, or that could exist?
Both.
I don't know if any do exist.
Do you think it could exist?
I mean, it's definitely possible, but would anybody care to hear that story?
Okay.
That's my thing. Like, I could put the words on the page and make this story. Is it going to be a good story? Is it going to be something that people would want to experience?
Do you think you could do, like, the example you provided was a day at Yosemite? Or a trip at Yosemite? Do you think you could do that in a way that checks all the boxes?
I mean, that have to be a small part of it. Like, it'd be like a small part of the story. It's not, the whole story wouldn't be about a trip in Yosemite and then...
How many trips of Yosemite equal the whole story?
7, 8.
Okay. Can you do Yosemite the way you want to do Yosemite?
If I have the budget.
I mean, from the story you're telling
I
me.
know.
Yeah, I know you do. So.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I can write it. It's just like, I can write really bad songs, but I know it's better not to write a bad song. But I mean, if it's something I don't enjoy bad songs. At least what I would classify as a bad song. But I would enjoy probably something that I write that's just like uber positive. I just don't think anyone else in the world would.
We can get there, Kelly.
All right, we'll work on it.
Yeah. We might have to sacrifice length for breadth.
Well, let's get to work.
All right. Sorry, this is long.
Yeah, I definitely thought we were just about to wrap up. I was like 15 minutes ago. But I do think we should wrap up now. If you made it to the end, as always, we love you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell.
Please do.
Tell your friends. We are 1 subscriber away from being 20 subscribers.
Madness.
Which, after over a year of doing this, would be amazing. I'm just kidding. Everybody, go have a great day. We love you. Be safe.
Take care. Bye.